going on, everybody? We are finally back. The bake sale. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, what's going on, everybody out there in YouTube lands? I am your host, Moods, and of course I got my co-host with me, Jason to the Bosco. What is going on, my brother?
What's up, my man? It's been quite a while.
It has been a long time, and I only got one question for you, man. What's been cooking?
No. Hold on. Before you ask any questions, I have a question for you this time.
Okay.
What does it feel like to have a YouTube channel with over 10,000 subscribers?
Yeah, man, it's actually pretty, I feel honored. I feel honored that there's still 10,000 people subscribed to me because, you know, with YouTube, you kind of go in waves sometimes with making videos. And the irony of that whole thing is that, like, I would go, like, usually a couple months without making a video or whatever. And, you know, my subs would kind of just stay stagnant, whatever. I'd make a bunch of videos, like, just recently. In the last, like, 3-4 weeks, I've made quite a few videos. I've just lost subs.
No way.
It's like the weirdest thing.
I was like, man, you're pumping with the videos. It's going to take me a while to catch up on them all. So,
right. No, it's just, you know what it is, though? I'm not necessarily losing them. I'm just not really gaining them either. And it's due to a lot of the algorithm because my videos I have to make for adults, like 18 and over. So I don't get the younger audience where the algorithm, you know, if you have the full spectrum, the full scale of viewers, it kind of works in their favor. Yeah. So, I mean, I get that. It is what it is. My content's not for, like, little kids. It just simply isn't. Yeah. And I understand that. So, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, no, I kind of got the bug again. You know, I wanted to start making some videos, and people have been hounding me about doing shelf videos. And I was like, you know what? I got everything set up in here in the music room. So I thought it was a decent idea to do a 10-year anniversary because it literally was the 10-year anniversary the last time I did the room tour video. Yeah. So I was like, you know, this is perfect timing. I'll just do a quick one and go from there. You know, and then I already had the shelves all organized, and I was like, well, I'll just do shelf by shelf, which will be like, it's like going to be a million parts. So, yeah. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And I'm glad that we're doing this back to the bake sale. I've been just itching to do this, man. Really itching to do this. It kind of sucked that we never got to do our top 21 last year together, but.
Yeah, that was kind of my fault. I told you that, you know, I wasn't really feeling a whole lot of albums up to that point, but. Right. With my top albums, most of them came out in the last quarter of the year. Yeah. So you're probably, I don't know if you noticed that or not in the list I put in your video, but yeah, man, it's like, yeah, I could have done it. I should have said to you, man, let's do this, but whatever. It is what it is, right?
I did notice, and I thought your list was really interesting too. I'd actually heard every album that was on your list. There was the one, who was it by? It was like I think it was like the horror themed album. It kind of had the horror theme to it. Horror
theme.
I can't remember what it was. Oh shit, it's totally escaping my mind right now.
Trying to think what I put in there.
Yeah, I listened to that once. I thought it was pretty interesting. I was a little bit shocked that it was on your list. I thought it was okay. I don't know if I was feeling it that much, but it totally escapes me. It totally escapes me what it's called right now.
Yeah, I can't remember either, man. It's like, I don't know. I don't know, about horror theme.
Yeah, I think it was just a darker one. I can't remember. Oh, dude, it's just totally escaping me. But regardless, I did notice that a lot of those albums were relatively newer to the time that we would have been recording. So yeah, you know, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Like I said, I got one question for you, man. What's been cooking in this time? What have you been up to?
Oh man, just it's regular, just working, chilling, buying crypto, betting on fights.
Betting on fights? Nice.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, man. You must be just constantly doing that because there's nothing but MMA fights, man.
It's crazy, man. They're on all the time now. It's like when I was a kid, like they came around once every like 3 months or something, right. And then every month, and then all of a sudden now it's like every weekend there's fights. Like sometimes there's like 3 events in like 1 week. Yeah, so it's insane, man.
Yeah, man. Like I've got a buddy that's got like this legal hookup or whatever, and he gets like all the MMA for free and stuff. And here I am, like, I'll get the fights every once in a while, and then when I get my cable bill, I'm just like, oh, dude, that's weird.
Yeah, you don't want to be paying for that because they just increased the price on the pay-per-views as well in the UFC. So yeah,
it's like the 4Ks.
There's enough free MMA on, right? So right. It's like
right. Yeah. It's just incredible, dude. It really is. Like, I'm like, is this live? I'm like, holy shit, this one's live too. It's like there's fights constant. It's crazy, man. So if you're a big fan, man, like there's no shortage of fights. And some of the cards that I've gotten recently have been fantastic. Like lots of good fights. But I really like watching the chicks fight, man. the girl fights are pretty good sometimes, man. Like
sometimes they are very good and sometimes they're very bad. Because a lot of the things with the female fighters, they just don't have the power that the men do. So there's a lot of decisions, right? So depends on who's fighting. Like if it's a back and forth like war brawl, it's awesome. But a lot of times it just gets dragged down and you know, it goes to decisions and it's kind of boring. But it just depends, right? Yeah.
Okay, man. Well, so we got a couple albums to review here. I know that these ones have been, I mean, what is it? It's like kind of the tail end of March right now. I think the El Conscious album came out, I believe, at the end of January. So it's roughly been out roughly 2 months. And I think KRS-One possibly came out around the same time, I think. So
a little bit later. The El Conscious album, man, that was forever in the making. Like that took forever for them to release that.
Right. Yeah, we'll get into that actually. But you know, to start this off here, we'll get into the brand new KRS-One album, which I believe is like his 26th album or 25th album.
I think it's 24th.
24th album. It's pretty crazy, man. Unfortunately, KRS-One has he's kind of in that realm of not really pressing up his albums anymore. So this is his 6th album in a row that doesn't really have any physicals. He has 2 albums in there that were lightly pressed on vinyl. He doesn't have any CD releases from his last 6 albums, and he has 2 of them that were pressed up by digital vinyl. I think did like copies, but lo and behold, you know, his albums are pretty much like digital albums now, kind of thing, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate for collectors and stuff. But you know, I went ahead and I actually made my own copy because it's digital only. Nice. And I was like, you know, I just, you know, if I want to pop it in, whatever, because I still listen to shit in my ride, right? So I'll listen to it, but it's kind of nice to have. But yeah, so KRS-One's new album. And we're going to break this down a little bit different for y'all this time because we usually go track by track. But we thought with the length of these 2 albums being, you know, very long, considering, you know, the majority of the albums that come out today are not this long. I think both these ones run over 50 minutes and they're very track heavy, like 14, 15 tracks and stuff. So we thought maybe we'll just give our thoughts on the album and then we'll go into some tracks and stuff. But we're not going to break it down single by single, but just to save a little bit more time, right? Because, I mean, there's a lot of songs.
Yeah, we'll be here for like 3 hours if we went through every track on both of these albums. Plus, you know, just getting into the banter between us in between tracks. So.
Right. Okay, so the brand new KRS-One album is called I Am an MC Are You One Too. This was really funny. I was listening to this in the vehicle one day, and after I picked up my kid from school, and it you know, it says the title on the screen, right? And I was like, Troy, what's the name of this album? And he's like, I'm MC Root too. He's like, I have no idea. He's like trying to read it, right? And I'm bursting out laughing. I was like, I am an MC. And he's like, oh, that is so cool. He was like mesmerized by the title. He's like, that is so cool. So then I tried it on the wife. She gets in there. She's like, she had no idea. And then I told her what it was. And she's like, oh, that's really cool. So the title it's kind of catchy when you realize what it is. You know? Yeah,
if you just see it, right, it's like, what is that?
I know, right? Yeah. At first I was like, what the hell? Oh, okay, I get it. It's a KRS-One thing.
Yeah.
So we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on KRS-One's 24th album? You're probably correct. Correct.
I'm pretty sure it's 24.
And that's 24 solo albums?
No, I think that's all like BDP.
That's including the
together.
5. That's including the 5 BDP albums too, the actual albums. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was in that realm, but like, man, you know, I gotta say, man, KRS-One, you know, for a guy that's been around doing this since, you know, 87. Well, I mean, putting out albums since 80s. It's crazy how consistent he is. He puts out an album like every 2 years, and it's nuts, dude. Like he's literally in his 50s, and he mentions that
he's like 56 years old, man.
Yeah, and okay, so I'm curious on your thoughts on this record, man, because I'm just very curious.
Well, it's obvious like KRS is obviously the hungriest 56-year-old rapper in the history of rap music.
Without a question.
Yeah, he goes after it, man. Like every track. I'm just like, when I'm listening to this album, it's like, God damn, is he ever gonna stop? Like, and some of the tracks, like I think Sun One, like he interrupts him. He's like, whoa. Like in the first track, he's like, we'll get this started, right? Because it seems like he could literally go on forever without stop rapping, like just nonstop.
Right.
Man, it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else you got on it?
Well, I mean, the beats themselves were probably the disappointment of the album. It's like, it seems like KRS is fine to just go in there and grab a beat and just, as long as he can spit rhymes, he doesn't really care what the beat is or, you know, who produced it, whatever. So the beats are definitely the downside of the album for me, but a lot of times, like sometimes the beat will start, I'm like, oh man, this is kind of whack. But then as the song goes on and KRS is just so persistent with the rhymes, like, I'm just like, okay, man, like the beat doesn't really even matter at this point.
Right.
It's just like, god damn, this is crazy.
So I have to 100% agree with you, man. I think this is one of the greatest examples of an album that has some pretty laughable beats. The beats are weak and at times comical. Like there's a track on here called Wet It Up, and the beat literally sounds like it's from a Casio keyboard from 1984. It's so funny. But I will say, and there's a lot of albums out there where lyrically you're just like blown away. And sometimes we've heard other albums where the beats aren't as great, but they're sonically, in the way that the MC spits is so good, it keeps you so interested. You're just like, I kind of forgot how weak the beats were. And then there's other albums where the beats are so fucking dope, and then the MCs are like, whatever. But then you just round out the MCs and you just find yourself listening to the beats and you never learn the lyrics because they're just terrible. Yeah, well, this is a great example of an album where the beats are semi-weak. I wouldn't say they're all terrible. There is a couple decent moments on here. But man, KRS-One, and I gotta agree, is the hungriest 55 or 56-year-old rapper in the history of the game, because there's not too many guys still doing it at his age. But he's so aggressive and so motivated. He just sounds so insanely motivated on this album. And he's, it's typical KRS-One content. He's going after MCs. He's talking about real hip hop and, the typical things. The interesting thing about this album for myself is that, considering we just come, like pretty much out of a pandemic, and it's been very politically motivated. Like there's just been a lot of politics involved in the last couple of years. This album, the only politics that he really gets into is, the oppression of black people and things like that. Like the more typical stuff that he does talk about. He doesn't really talk about the whole COVID thing, and, it doesn't get into that at all. He doesn't get into that political side of what's been happening in the world in the last 2 years. It's more, it's hip hop based. And I thought that was really intriguing, that KRS-One, considering how political he can be. And he's very outspoken, as, for the hip hop communities and the ghettos and the oppression and stuff like that. I thought that would have just correlated into with what was going on in the States with mandates and, vaccines and just all the political angles of the pandemic and stuff, right? He never went there. I thought it was very, very intriguing. And it was kind of refreshing, because when this album came out, I was thinking to myself going, okay, now the title is very KRS-One. I'm expecting some fucking bars on this, because he's talking about being an MC. Are you one too? He's literally calling out every MC out there.
It's just like, it's basically a challenge. Like when I read the title, I was like, okay, he's like going to challenge everybody, right? But,
right. And that's what he did. He didn't stray from what you expected from a title like this. He just went hard on every single song, dude. Like the beginning, I think, might even be the first single off the album. It's one of the first two. And it's literally just verse, no hook. He's spitting fucking bars, and it's actually probably one of the better beats on the album too. And it really does set the stage for what you get throughout the album. Like there's no gimmicks here. There's no bullshit. But KRS-One not only just spits hot ass with verses with really great wordplay. There's a lot of really good rhymes in this record, man. Like really good wordplay. He does what KRS-One does best. He switches up flows. He raps over, the song Crazy is kind of like a trap beat, and he double times the beat.
Yeah, I love that.
And he does it really fucking good.
Yeah, he did. Sounded great.
And he sounds like KRS-One over the boom bap, his normal style, but then he does a little bit of reggae. Yeah. And then he does a little bit of coarse reggae at times. And he really does switch up his flow from track to track on this. And it just, for as weak as the beats are, it's super cohesive. It's a really motivated KRS-One album. And I was thinking to myself going, this could have been something crazy. And from what I've been hearing from everybody, everyone's been really liking this album, but they probably share the same sentiments too about the beats. Like that
I would think so.
Yeah, because honestly, dude, the beats are just like, I get it though, man. At this stage in the game, like, is he really going to be getting beats from DJ Premier and all these? I mean, it's probably just so cost dense, to do that.
But, and there's so many producers now. I'm sure he could just like say, "All right, man, I need a beat," and it's like 2 minutes later, there you go, right? So
I feel
makes it easy for him.
Right. I feel like he kind of did this on the album too, because there is like, how many producers? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, at least 6 different producers. I think there's 2 different credits on one track. So there's like 6 different producers actually on this album.
Yeah, I was having a hard time finding who all the producers were. I thought Sun One was a producer on the majority of it.
Sun One does pretty much half the album. So I went to HHB because it was like the only place where they are actually listed on the track by track. And Sun One does about half of them. he does a couple of the better ones, and a couple of the other ones are done by some of the other guys. It's kind of a mixed bag of production. You couldn't really place who actually did some of the beats, because it's kind of funny actually when you place, like, Sun-One does a really dope beat and then he just does a really bad one. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, there was one beat. Damn, who did that? There was one song that had a different producer. I thought the beat was way better than the majority of the songs. Damn, who was it?
Well, okay, so Sun-One did the beginning. He did raw hip hop. He did Can You Dance, which is interesting. Achieving the Levels, which is kind of different from the other beats that I've mentioned so far. Knock 'Em Out, which is kind of
Knock 'Em Out. Yeah, I think that was like the first song that was that the first track he released on there?
I think that he technically released the beginning as a single first, but the first time we heard a song off this album was actually in the verses.
Yes, yeah.
And he played Knock 'Em Out, and I remember I was watching the verses going, where the hell is this song from? And then I found out after it was from a forthcoming album, and I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. The KRS-One would put a song like that, because it was hot too. It kind of fit the bill, right? I was like, that's cool. So Sun-One does that one. He does Wet 'Em Up, and that's the laughable thing, is that he does Knock 'Em Out, and then the next track on the album that he does is Wet 'Em Up, and it's just like night and day beats, right?
KRS probably just said, give me a beat like this, give me a beat like that, give me a beat like this. He's like, all right, I got you, man.
Right. So, yeah, man, I mean, like I said, you're not going to get a lot of versatility with a KRS-One record, but I mean, honestly, most of us hardcore KRS-One fans know what you're going to get, and it's not disappointing. And I just feel like this album is so motivated. Like, that's the word of the day, man. It just sounds like but he does it like almost politely though too. He doesn't mention any names. He's doing KRS-One. He's just like, literally like achieving levels. Like he's, if you want to fucking achieve my level, you got to do this. He's just telling people you got to do this shit, man.
Yeah. One of his lines is like, every year I get younger and younger. And it's like, God damn, I think he might be right on that.
Right.
It's like, I don't think he's lying. I think he is getting younger.
No, I know, man. Like I said, like it's kind of, again, it's a little bit ironic too with KRS-One. So his last 6 albums, he hasn't put out really any physicals except for, like I mentioned, a couple of limited vinyls. But his last 6 albums have actually been pretty good. Like they're so low key, and it's not bad. It's like he has no pressure on him, so he's just gonna do KRS-One what KRS-One does best, and that's rhyme in cool patterns and just spit that fire and shit. Like on the song "Can You Dance," I thought this was a really interesting premise to do a dedication song to Shock G and Biz Markie, but without doing a dedication song, like doing a sappy dedication song. So how he did the dedication song was make a song about hip-hop dances and incorporate the Humpty Dance and the Bismarck.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking genius, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, the beat was kind of annoying at first, but I mean, I liked how he left in the chorus part, like after he would leave a spot where people could actually do the dances. So if you were, if it's a 90s night or something, you could throw that on, right? It'd be perfect if everybody knew how to do the dances, right?
Right. Yeah, right. Because he mentions, like, besides the Humpty Dance and the Bismarck, he mentions like the WAP dance, and what else does he mention? He mentions the Donkey Dance, the Cabbage Patch, the Running Man. Like he kind of freestyle at the end and stuff. But you're right though. The hook in this song, or the chorus, or whatever you want to call it, it's like a terrible horn loop. And it's so crappy that it's comical. It's not as bad as Wet 'Em Up. That Casio keyboard beat is the funniest. I think
that's the worst. Yeah,
dude, it made me laugh so hard because I've literally heard that keyboard sound in shot on video films from like 1985.
Yeah,
like because that's what they would use, because everybody had a Casio keyboard and you couldn't afford to like make real music, so you just use the Casio keyboard, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm thinking to myself, going, so KRS-One was in the studio with some dude that literally had a Casio keyboard. Who still even has one of those? It made me laugh. Oh man,
you brought up like the classic folder of sounds, right? And I'm using this one.
Right. It was like, even though it was the most uncinematic thing ever, it came across as being cinematic to me in that shot on video realm of terrible films. It was so funny to me. A lot of people might not get that, but holy shit, dude, it made me laugh, man. Yeah. So funny. And it's funny because I keep going back to that song because it's so funny when that beat kicks in, right? I'm just like, oh my God. It's not even like the greatest song on the album, but it's like, oh man, it's so entertaining, man. It's so entertaining.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, that other beat I was talking about was DJ Static. It was on Have to Wait. And Sun-One actually did a feature on that track.
Oh, yeah. On Have to Wait, yeah, right.
Yeah, that's funny. He had another good line on that one. He's like, "We've been rapping so long. If I said PM Dawn, your pops will start laughing." So he's like referencing, events of the past that have been so long ago, but a lot of people wouldn't even know about it.
So I actually literally have that written down. It's like when I say PM Dawn, your pops will start grinning. And I mean, I listened to that and I was thinking of you too. And I'm like, Jason probably just laughed at the same time I did, because we know that's one of the greatest lines because it's so historic.
Yeah.
And he just throws it in there, and it's so great, man. But that actually is one of the better beats on the album, actually, is that DJ Static Have to Wait track.
The drums actually sounded like drums on that track, whereas the other ones are like, like you said, like Casio-style drums.
Right. Man, another track where he just goes ballistic on, man, is Drop Another Break. Like, he's just coming at rappers, and it's basically just bars over beats, man. He rips, like, a 2.5-minute verse, and I felt like he could have went for, like, 10 minutes on this track. And his wordplay is ridiculous. There's no chorus. And it's cool because the song's called Drop Another Break, and he kicks this long 2.5 verse, and it's a lot of lyrics, man, and it literally breaks, and then he kicks another like verse, and it's cool, man. It's such a cool track, and I like that. No chorus, no fucking around, just let the break play like hip-hop style. That's really cool.
And that is one of the beats that I was like, at the first I was like, man, this is shit, but then as you keep trying, I'm like, all right, whatever.
Right. And that's the thing, man. It's not one of the greatest beats, but it's like, you don't even, honestly, I don't even know if I can remember exactly what it sounds like. I can just hear KRS-One ripping on that beat, man. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. But yeah, the song Club Rippa, it says Club Rippa. It's kind of like, it's a dance hall beat, basically. It's doing a little bit of, his kind of dedication to dance hall stuff, which he's done throughout his career. Yeah. This is KRS-One. I expect things like that. And, I'm not a big dance hall fan, to be honest. Like, I know some people have done, kind of dedication song or albums. Like, AC Alone did that dance hall album, which was fucking terrible, man. I could not get into that shit. That was the worst shit ever, man.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe that was AC Alone when I heard that. I was like, what?
Well, remember when AC Alone went all weird there in the mid-2000s? And he did a dance hall album, which was like hardcore dance hall, and he did a swing album.
Yeah.
It was so weird. Like, he was just...
Yeah. He's just trying to do different shit at that point, right?
The swing album actually was kind of cool. It was different because I'd never heard any hip-hop like that before. I wouldn't say it was like overly something you're going to go back to a lot, but it was definitely better than the dance hall shit. I can tell you that. Yeah, so
what did you think of the last track, the closer, Think Bigger, with his wife on the hook?
You know what, man? It's probably the most political song on the album, I guess, in a sense. I mean, besides Innocent, I guess, with Sun One. That song is basically about, how you're born innocent in the ghetto, and it's people become a product of their environment and stuff like that. But Think Bigger, I thought it was an interesting track. I think it was placed perfectly on the album too.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have anything really like this on the whole album, and then it just kind of breaks it all down. It just kind of comes to a standstill, and it's kind of a softer song and stuff. And it's, the struggle is real kind of thing. But interesting to hear that. I thought it was interesting. Yeah,
I really liked it. I thought it was cool. It's like words of wisdom for the youth and stuff, right? And I really like how it closed the album. I thought it was really solid closer, good instrumental as well.
Right. I mean, the oppression and stuff, and like just basically you got to open up your eyes to what's really going on. Just don't accept it. Right? Open up your eyes and, do something about, the oppression that's happening and stuff. But yeah, you're right though. And it is, again, it's a good spot on the album for it, man.
Yeah.
The title track, I'm an MC, Are You One Too, I thought is pretty cool, man. It's pretty obvious what it is. It's, real and fake MCs and stuff like that. I love the bass line. It's pretty KRS-One. It's very boom bappy. It's just, it really does say what the album's about, and I like that about it, that it was a decent track, and it really did kind of give you the overall feel of what the whole album's about by the title track. So but yeah, just basically talking about like, do that shit for yourself. Don't be doing that shit for money, because that's where the best shit comes out, right?
Just letting everybody know that he deserves respect, and you should respect yourself enough to be an MC at his level, basically.
Right. So, are you a fan of Knock 'Em Out?
Oh yeah, I definitely like.
Dude, I think the Slick Rick sample works great, and I really like what KRS-One does, because I mean, obviously, people that are watching is probably your fans of KRS-One too, but KRS-One is one of those guys that really likes to give flowers to people. He always talks about the pioneers and real hip and like the culture. He represents the culture. We know this. But I really like this because he not only uses that sample over and over again in the track and stuff. And he's obviously a big fan of Slick Rick and shit, but he also ends every verse with the Slick Rick rhymes with a little bit of his kind of flavor on it too. And I really like that. I really like that because he doesn't have to do that, but he did it anyways. And I think that really did work.
Yeah.
Thought it was really cool. So
yeah, that was one of the standout tracks for me on this album. So mentioning that, what would you say your top 3 favorite tracks would be on this?
My top 3 favorite tracks on the album have got to be Knock 'Em Out has got to be my favorite. The Beginning, I'm a big fan of that. And I Am an MC, Are You One Too? I think that's one of my favorite ones too. If I had to throw in an honorable mention, it would have to be Have to Wait.
Okay, yeah.
That was the other track on the album that I kind of gravitate to. Now, the most hilarious song on the album is still Wet 'Em Up. I don't care what anyone says. That shit is the funniest track on the album. And like, just beat-wise. And no, KRS-One isn't really comical on the mic now, is he? But
yeah, probably not too many people would have the same view on that track as you do. But
no. It's,
that's hilarious.
What did you like the song Crazy? Like where he raps like double time over the trap beat? I thought that was really cool. I think his flow is dope, and he spits some fucking fire on that shit, man. The lyrics are nuts. Like his wordplay. I wish someone had printed out all the lyrics because there's just so much to absorb here. There's only a couple tracks I could find that actually had the lyrics, which was The Beginning and I believe Knock 'Em Out. I think the last, there was like maybe 3 songs I could find, but this is one of the songs I wish that the lyrics were typed out. That's what I miss about physical albums, man. Actually, we'll get into that in the next album too, because there's a lot to absorb in that album, and that would be a great album to get a physical copy of and have the lyrics inside, because that's something we used to do when we were kids. Remember getting that shit and you would read along with the lyrics, and you just absorbed it so much more.
Yeah, and this would be a nice lyric sheet, right? It's like this would be a book with all these lyrics. He's just spitting crazy shit.
Right.
But that's funny you mentioned Crazy, because that was definitely in the running for my top 3 tracks, but I did go with Knock 'Em Out, Have to Wait, and then I put Think Bigger in there as well, as I really start to like that Think Bigger track a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of figured that I figured that Crazy might be in there for you. I was kind of trying to think of yours, and I was like, I bet
it was there, and then I thought, man, Think Bigger is like, it's a really cool track. I really started to like it a lot more, so it overtook it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So definitely Knock 'Em Out was both on our list, so that's a top track for sure.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because we have literally done reviews of albums with like 7 songs and had 3 different tracks.
Yeah.
Like our tastes sometimes are like, it's similar but different. It's very it must be refreshing for people that watch it too. It's like, man, these guys just don't have the same shit and like blah blah blah. And
they might also be looking for the same 3 tracks to listen to, right? Just to check out an album. Like, Jesus Christ, there's like 8 tracks and they name 6 tracks. Like,
right. Might as well pop in the whole thing. But I mean, honestly, if you guys watching this have not listened to this album, Knock 'Em Out obviously is a mutual favorite on the album. That song is it's really good, man. It's really good. Like, and I like the fact that KRS-One can still release songs like The Beginning as a single, and it has no chorus. Like, it's just so KRS-One to do that. Not a lot of people will do that anymore because they want that something to draw you in, that connectivity of the of the courses. That's what courses do to people, man. You buy into it. So
how would you rate this album?
Dude, okay, so I honestly haven't even rated it yet. I wanted to talk about it with you. See, this is a hard one to rate because, let's face it, man, the lyrics are, and the flows, like KRS-One on the microphone, we'll just say that, is very, very good on this album.
Definitely.
Like, really fucking good.
Yeah.
And so with the beats, it does bring it down quite a bit. And I'm not saying all the beats are like trash, but they're not. Even like the good ones aren't like your top grade type, beats and stuff. But again, it's a record where it's about the lyrics, man. It really is. It's really about that. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like it's bad at all when I get through it. I don't think there's anything overly painful. I know people might disagree, but Wet 'Em Up, I can see people just being, holy shit, I can't listen to that.
Yeah, there's a couple tracks for me I definitely skip through.
Which ones are your skippable tracks on here?
Definitely Wet 'Em Up. Other than that, I would say probably... yeah, that's definitely the skippable track for me.
Oh, I can totally see. Honestly, man, everything else, like even like rock, hip hop, I think that's just, It's typical KRS. The horns I thought were a little bit weak on that one, but I don't think it's overly that bad. What's the other one I was trying to? I think
Club Ripper and Wet It Up is probably the two that I would probably skip.
Yeah,
and
right.
Yeah,
right. I think the track. I want to say, oh yeah, nothing to say. With the chorus in that track actually kind of reminds me of like a late '90s like on beat type chorus. You know, it just kind of came off as kind of strange for me for KRS-One, but it oddly kind of worked. But it has xylophone in that track, and I'm a big fan of xylophone, so it did kind of feel like this early '90s like xylophone sample almost. It's like, did they sample or they actually have a xylophone in there that they actually used on the beat? But so I mean, yeah. This is one of the hardest albums I think I've ever had to rate before. Really, like honestly, dude.
I get it, man. I totally get it. Well, I'll tell you what I rated it based on those couple tracks and the beats that were pretty weak. The rhymes were definitely solid, but I had to bring it down because of the couple tracks and the beats. But I gave it a 6.5.
Okay, so my initial thing where I was kind of at, but I really wanted to talk about, was about a 7.
Yeah.
I just think that the lyrics are so solid on this, and I think people, you know, it's funny because I've had 4 or 5 people come to me and say, man, have you checked the new KRS-One album? It's fucking crazy. And I'm like, yeah, the lyrics are dope. And that's like literally how I'll just leave it. I mean, he kills the microphone. He kills the microphone, man. It's just pure fire, pure flames on this, man. But, you know, it would have been really interesting to have this take the acapellas and put this over, like, could you imagine this shit over crazy primo? Like,
yeah, they should do that. Like, you know how they do the mashups or whatever, like they should do that, put it on primo beats or anybody's beats that are dope. But yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Right. Yeah, man. If you had an honorable mention, what would it be
for a track?
Yeah, for a track, just to give the people a little bit more flavor.
I'd probably go with Have to Wait.
Yeah, I was right there too. I thought
no, I actually did pick Have to Wait as one of my tracks.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. Probably. Let's see here. Definitely not those.
What about the beginning?
Yeah, that's all right, but it is sort of like an intro to the album.
Which is funny because
I might go with Achieving the Levels. I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually have that written down. Feels like an intro, and it's funny because it's literally a single.
Yeah.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that came about, but
yeah, it is weird because. It's like it's up there with one of the better type intros out there though, because like My Intro to Let You Know by Outkast, I always think of that shit from back in the day. Like that was one of the freshest and dopest intros, man. It was really dope. So but yeah, man, that's gonna conclude the KRS-One I Am an MC Are You 1-2 album review.
My turn around. Twisted. Now meet the Carmel King of the castle, keeping his tight, CL smooth, sipping on Spritite. It's the Mechadon, never swerving untitled, knowing commercial rap needs to be recycled. Collecting cans for Nick's picks, my latest LP. Now obey my thirst, I'm precise. Got the knack to rock, I'm steady heating up the spot. The chocolate boy wonder making heads bop. Plus
All right, so moving along with the show here. And the second album that we are reviewing this week is the new Ill Conscious record, fully produced by Mute One, called Acres of Diamonds. If you're not familiar, are you familiar with Ill Conscious at all?
Yeah, I heard of him a few years ago. Right. And what was that name of Logistics? That album he released, Logistics. I liked that a lot. That was pretty cool.
Right.
I was not familiar with Mute One though.
Honestly, I wasn't really either. I'd heard a couple projects from Ill Conscience. I actually don't own anything. I think his albums were released by Hip Hop Enterprise. I think they did a couple of the newer releases, which I'll have to get up on. Because I really do like him, man. He's a pretty interesting MC, very, very motivated in a different type of way. But yeah, Ill Conscience is a MC from Baltimore, which I thought was kind of interesting. And Mute One is from New Jersey, which you guys all know my love for New Jersey hip-hop, man. It's like one of my favorite places in the world for hip-hop. There's just so much great producers and MCs out of New Jersey. It's totally underrated. But yeah, so this is the new project, Acres of Diamonds. which is a very, very, I would almost say, complex albums. What are your thoughts on the album?
Well, first off, in terms of the instrumentals, like it's on a whole other level of existence than the KRS album. So Mute One definitely impressed me. Like I'd never heard of the guy, I don't recall ever hearing of him prior to this. And man, his beats are crazy.
You know, I would say Mute One basically produced a cinematic. It has a cinematic feel because there's a lot of strings in the record, but it's like, it's interesting because it's not like an action cinematic film. Yeah. There's moments where he almost has like giallo samples in it, but it's almost like a mood drama, but it's very cinematic because it does have those horns and stuff. But I would say overall, this is the type of album that you listen to by yourself, maybe with headphones on, and you just kind of sit there, and it would be nice. And getting back to the whole lyrics and the physical, this would be the perfect album to sit there and listen to with headphones or just, on your stereo and listen or read along with the lyrics, because there's a lot of different topics here, and there's a lot of words to absorb in this record, man, because he covers so many different types of subjects and, in content on this record that I think even as much as I listen to this record, it's still hard to absorb because he has such like I would almost say exquisite, almost like a Yu-Mang type Talib Kweli flow. It's pretty quick. He rhymes quick over these beats. And you really have to focus your energy. This is not an album that you roll around to in your ride and pick. It's not that type of album, man. No. It's very much a mood album. This isn't a club album. This isn't like it's one of those kind of albums you sit around and you just take in by yourself or with a friend that you guys are willing to like sit around and just listen to a fully lyrical album. This is not a gimmicky album. This is not for like straight up radio play, clubs, all that type of shit. This is like an album of really conscious content. It's really mind-blowing, man. I was kind of taken back at like, for somebody that doesn't really get mentioned a lot for new age MCs, how grown up he is. He's so like elevated in his conscious mind that he's basically talking about at times where he's not quite there yet. Like he understands that he needs to build and he needs to build himself up, and he'll get there one day and to be the best ever. Like he's not that guy that's just going after the money right now and doing whack shit and getting all gimmicky and stuff. He's like, I'm not about that. He goes, I will get to the place I need to be one day. Like he knows it in himself that he can get better, and he's not that dude that's like totally just boasting and bragging, even though he's got insane skills. Yeah. Like he must know, but he's not telling you that. He's being very modest about how he projects what he's talking about and shit. Like the paradox of value. It's literally what I'm talking about. It sets the whole stage for the whole album, and it's literally
it's a beautiful opener, man. I love that track as an opening track to this album.
Yeah, it's got this intro type feel, but it totally tells you, the listener, what he's all about. He's not about chasing fast money, and he's an MC that has skills, but it's going to take him a lot longer to achieve his full status than other people, because they more or less sell out and they do the club bangers and they do the shit. And he's not saying there's anything right. He just doesn't want to be there. Yeah. He's not dissing people that do that. He just wants, to do his thing at his own pace and at his own level and stuff. I think that's really noble. You just don't hear MCs talk like that anymore. It's pretty interesting. So.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, it is definitely a mood album. The first time I listened to this, it was actually in my car. And the first track that really stood out to me was Black Stars. That's the track with Rome Streets and Planet Asia. Right. Because the beat is more like, it's more like something you'd listen to in the car. But when you take this and you break down his flows and all the rhymes, man, it's insane. Like you have to sit there and listen to it several times to get what he's saying, because his just constant. He never lets up the way his delivery is. And I thought when I first heard him, I know people have mentioned Big L a lot. I've seen people saying he sounds like Big L, and he does a bit. But I also thought he sounds like Hex One, the way he delivers. Like it's just like it's just like nonstop. Like you do have to listen to it several times to get a grasp on it.
I read that too. I read that in a brief little interview, and the guy that was interviewing him said that some people think that you probably got a lot of your influence from Big L, and he actually said that he never really listened to Big L much. He became a fan of Big L after he was recording and stuff, and it wasn't really his thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting, but I never really, I mean, I guess I could kind of get that a little bit, but to me, Big L is like, you know, he's got that flow, but he's more of a punchline. Like their styles are very different in content and stuff. So
yeah, I think he mentioned Jay-Z was like a big influence to him as well. So I was thinking like the younger Jay-Z definitely sounds similar to this. Not as fast a delivery, but similar to it. I can definitely see an influence there.
Right. See, I was getting that kind of like that Umang Talib Kweli type thing, man. Like maybe older Talib Kweli, like just the way they were kind of flowing on the thing and just the, you know, the straight style and stuff like that. And but yeah, man, I was like, holy shit, you know. But I was really kind of taken back by this, and the first time I listened to it, I was like, holy shit, man, like there is a lot going on here, bro. Like he's talking about fucking Illuminati, and he's got tracks where he's dealing with babies, like baby mama issues, and he's talking about corruption. And the one song on the album that he does talk about the pandemic is kind of interesting because it's actually a song called Mutiny that he released a video for 2 years ago, and that video got released right at the start of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And basically what happened is the pandemic, and the reason why this album took 2 years to come out, he said in this interview, is that he got kind of like writer's block a little bit. Like his whole creative side of him kind of went in the tank because of the pandemic, and he was just kind of down with what was going on and shit like that. And that's why it took like 2 years to, you know, kind of perfect the album and stuff like that. But he didn't really write about the pandemic and any other tracks because it was something that he just didn't want to focus on. But he, you know, he talks about a mutiny, and I thought that was really interesting too, because we got these two albums from guys that are obviously very socially conscious about what's going on. KRS-One doesn't even bring it up, and he has the one track that he released in the first month of the pandemic 2 years ago.
Yeah, man, he's talking about like forced vaccinations and Big Pharma making a killing off of this and everything. I was like, oh man, I love stuff like that. I'm like, big into conspiracy shit, and I think he would be as well. Like, so.
Oh, yeah. It's a very nihilistic track, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very, you know, it is, man. I mean, I call it being like I'm called a nihilist all the time because I feel like I'm just more of a realist, though. I just kind of tell you how it is. Yeah. Right. And people are like, oh, well, that's not how it's doom and gloom. You're always fucking doom and gloom. And I'm like, yeah, but a lot of shit that happens is doom and gloom. It's not nihilism. It's just reality, dude. You know, and I feel like when people talk like that and you give it straight to people, they kind of more or less take it the wrong way a little bit. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick or nothing, but sometimes that's the way shit is, man. Like, my wife always calls me a pessimist. I'm like, bro. And I actually call her bro sometimes just to piss her off. And I'm like, bro, I'm a realist. She's like, shut the fuck up with that. She's like, you're the most pessimistic person I've ever met in my life. And I'm like, yeah, but how many times was I right about the shit that I was complaining about or whatever? And she's like, almost every single time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, exactly. Yeah, and who's the nihilistic one now?
That's funny. But yeah, he has a lot of political little things in different tracks as well. Like he's talking about one world government, things like that, you know. So yeah, I would like to have a conversation with him or interview the guy talking about all these different theories and things of that nature, just to see, you know, outside of a song realm, what his views would be.
Right. But yeah, like he covers a lot of bases here, man. Like I said, you know, from corruption to pandemic, he talks about the ghetto issues and wows and, you know, poverty to addiction. Like, and he even goes as far to talk about like his family history and stuff too, which I thought was quite interesting because you don't really get a lot of personal shit sometimes from people. Like they'll talk about other things, you know, but like not so much your personal. And I think even in that song, he even mentions Muggsy Bogues. I don't know. It's not
on Lineage, right?
On Lineage. That's what he meant. And I was like, holy shit, dude. He just said Muggsy Bogues, and I'm like, man, I was a huge fan because I mean that guy was the boss player in the NBA back in the 90s, like 5'2". Come on,
slam dunk contest winner.
Right. I mean, and the other thing that I like about Ill Conscious too, like he's conscious about where he is as an MC, and he's also conscious of the culture, so he gives it up to past MCs, and he's not one of these new young cats that is like, well, I'm better than all you guys, and I'm here right now, so I'm just going to move forward without kind of representing where the shit actually came from. Like, you know, he recognizes as he's here that he is here because of these people, and he's giving flowers, and he does it kind of very lyrically and very respectful, and it's kind of cool, man. And you know, talking about the game and just respecting the art of hip hop and the culture and stuff, which is, you know, just something that really does lack with today's youth. They just don't want to. It's just the mentality. They just don't give a shit, man. You know, so.
Yeah, another thing I really enjoyed on this album, we have a couple DJs, Grasshopper and TMB. Right. Definitely added a lot. I know you like scratches on songs as much as I do, so yeah, definitely added.
And so I never really thought too much of this actually, but DJ Grasshopper, because I mentioned Umang before, because Grasshopper and Umang and BBZ Darnie and shit like all link up and do shit. They even did a record together, so that actually kind of makes sense. So that's probably how my mind was working. I didn't really put that together until like 2 seconds. Yeah, like when I mentioned Umang, but Grasshopper with the cuts, it just instantly reminded me, and I love that track too, Bloodsuckers. That's featured. Yeah, man. Like the scratch at the beginning of the song, it's got this really awesome piano loop in it. And you know me, man. I love scratching. I love piano loops. You know, I love dope song. Like he's got a great line in the song too. Evil lies within the church and the state, and it goes on and it's like, you know, something about the rest just only teach for their benefit and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, again, you know, it's just like it's so doom and gloom and it's so nihilistic. But I love that. Like, I love that shit.
Yeah, I like to see is like with religion and medicine, you submit without understanding. So
right.
You're just throwing these little gems in there, right? It's like, yeah, I love that stuff too.
Yeah, dude, Bloodsuckers was a track that really stuck out to me, man. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, man, he covered. It's just insane from track to track what he's covering here, man. Like Luminary with DJ TMB. On the track, which is really dope. Got scratch chorus, verse, and it kind of goes out. You know, talking about like basically giving credit, you know, from the, you know, the originators and being influential and stuff like that. And I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. It's just one of those tracks that just really does work. And it's good that he had the scratching for something like that that's so hip hop based.
Yeah.
You know, based in the culture. And then it was really good track, man.
Yep.
What did you think of Paragon?
Paragon, let me think here. Paragon, what was it?
It's the song right after Bolivian Cocaine. With,
okay. Yeah, that one had the DJ on there as well. I think it was TMB on that.
Yeah, TMB is that, and that's why I wanted to say, because those two tracks are different in content, but kind of very similar. Man, there is some dope fucking scratches, dude. Like there's so many voices I can't even remember them. There's like I heard J. Rue, there's some X-Clan, I think there was some Prodigy, there might have been Comet, that might be a different track, but there's so many samples. I was like, holy shit. And you know, Paragon is like just doing it to the highest of your ability, to the highest level and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's basically letting know he's claiming his greatness on that one a bit. So and he backs it up as well. So,
right.
Yeah, it's a really dope song.
Right. I really like the jazz horn on Lineage, man. I like those horns and shit, man. It's good stuff. Yeah, and you're right. That is the song where he mentions Muggsy Bogues, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of those beats where you hear, as soon as you hear it, you know it's going to be sort of like a heartfelt, thought-provoking type song. So the beat definitely fit that really well.
Oh, it does, man, because it's so low key. It's almost like passive aggressive in its sense, man. It's weird. I don't even know how to explain that beat, man. It's like it feels like kind of a downer, but it isn't. Yeah, he's like celebrating it. His family. It's weird though. It's an interesting. But so getting into the, you know, the track Mutiny that we mentioned, it was a song that was released. It was the very first song from this, right?
Yeah.
It was released 2 years ago on his Bandcamp and stuff, and then the album took like 2 years basically. And that song also has DJ TMB on it also, and it's great, man. It's, you know, you said it's, you know, conspiracies, and for the better part of what was going on at the time was the pandemic and shit like that. So he really goes hard into this, and you know, rebelling against the system and shit like that. But it's a dope track, man. I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, there are a couple tracks on this album that don't sound like they're mixed and mastered that well. And I was reading, as he said, that he was having problems with the engineer mixing, getting the album mixed. So that was a part of what took so long to release it. But
right.
Yeah. Then there's also, like he was saying, like he's a bit of a perfectionist and didn't want to put stuff out soon. So yeah, that's why it took this amount of time. Basically, a whole bunch of different factors. But,
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I do have that written down in one of the tracks where I thought the drums were way too low in it.
Yeah,
I can't find my notes on it. I can't remember what track it is now. I'll probably find it eventually, but I do actually. Oh, okay. The song Smile. I feel the drums are way too low in the mix. The title is ironic. I don't know what I meant by, Smile. Oh, I know what it is, man. Yeah, because it's not actually a happy song, and it's called Smile. So the title's ironic in it. But
there's some pretty heavy lyrics in that song. So.
Yeah, man. It's like, you know, when he says cracking the systematic codes, and I was like, oh, okay, right. This is not. This isn't like Yeah, it's not supposed to be a happy song kind of thing.
Yeah.
But my note is, I feel the drums are way too... And now I remember, the drums are so low, and that probably one of the tracks where it just wasn't coming out right in the mix and stuff, because it does feel a little bit lopsided and stuff. I actually don't really like the chorus in that song, the Smile chorus.
I didn't mind that one, actually. I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I wasn't overly the biggest fan of that one. So you mentioned Black Caesars with Rome Streets and Planet Asia. That's definitely...
Black Czars, yeah.
Or Black Caesars, yeah, Black Czars. I can't even read. So Black Czars with Rome Streets and Planet Asia. I'm not the hugest Rome Streets fan. I do like them. I'm a big fan of Planet Asia. This track is kind of cool because they kind of do stick to the theme mostly. And I like that, man, because you get a lot of... I'm not going to say fully posse cut in here, but it's one dude with two other MCs, and I'm assuming that they weren't in the same studio, because nowadays they never are. Yeah. But it's cool, like, if you come up with a theme and they actually stick to it, and they write about Black Kings and stuff like that, right? And I felt like it worked really well. I mean, it's definitely that song that kind of sticks out here. It's more of like a posse cut with a theme, and it's kind of cool. I think there's like a guitar chord loop in it that kind of works and stuff. But the beat is kind of a banger. It's probably the one track on the album that does stick out as something that you would thump in your ride.
Yeah, so. It's definitely a head nodding beat for sure. And all three of those guys, they have totally different flows and styles, but I thought it worked well together. Yeah. I was a big fan of this track.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm not really too sure what the track 4 is. The Vespuccio Norte.
Vespuccio Norte, yeah.
Vespuccio Norte. I'm not even sure exactly.
I had no clue what that was, so I actually looked it up online. I was like, what the hell is Vespuccio Norte? So then I read it, and it said it's an underground metro station on the line 2 of the Santiago Metro in Santiago, Chile. So then I was like, okay. So then I read an interview with him after that, and he said he actually wrote it while he was in Chile last year. So I was like, okay, that makes sense now. I'm glad I looked that up.
Okay, so I thought Norte was just like... I thought maybe it was something to do with in Baltimore, and I don't know. I had no idea what the hell was going on.
I didn't either until I actually did a search online about it to see what the hell it was. I had no idea what he's talking about, Vespuccio Norte.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a Bumpy Knuckles sample in there somewhere, too, in that track.
Yeah, there's a great scratch outro on that as well. Like that. The Grasshopper was on that one.
Right. Yeah, piano loop on that track and stuff.
Yeah, I love that track. It's really chill, really, really cool song. Yeah.
What did you think of "I'm Good" with King Magnetic and Dink? The guy's name is Dink.
Yeah. I did not like Dink. I have to say, I assume he's the singer on that track. But yeah, King Magnetic track. Verse was cool on that track, and. Yeah, it's about shady women. Some of these women they're talking about. They could probably hook up on the Maury Povich show if
right.
Play their cards right. So,
again, just mixing up the content on here, man. Like the themes and shit. Like having babies with shitty mothers and just I like that, man. It's not like it's kind of a reverse thing where the mom sucks instead of the father this time around, like the deadbeat father, but the moms suck and they're kind of forced to basically saying, well, fuck you then, I'll just take care of this kind of shit, right? Which is cool, taking responsibility into your own hands.
A lot of men go through that shit as well. It's not just women with deadbeat dads, right? So
exactly yeah. But this album, man, is like it's just, I haven't listened to an album like this in so long where I was like, you know what? I like kind of tried to listen to my vehicle. And I was like, no, man, I can't do it. Like I'm trying to listen to it. It's just not a good rolling around album to listen to. Like no offense to them, but I don't think this album was meant to be in the trunk. Banging in the 15s in the trunk and shit. This is it's more of a personal album. It's got something for everybody. Like you said, if you're into, the Illuminati and conspiracy theories and shit, and like you like hearing songs about shitty babies, mamas, and corruption and poverty and all that type of things, like it's got something for you, man. And Mute One's production though is like, it's so layered. There's so much going on. He has a lot of ability to really kind of bring out and make it feel cinematic, and I like that because you don't hear albums like this very often where producers manage to like keep that note all the way through the album, but it's not the same note. It's so cohesive and it really does work. And
he shows he's versatile, but like you said, it definitely very layered production. Just great stuff, man. Loved it.
I'd really like to see what Mute One does. Who knows, like maybe this is something that they really kind of focused on the idea of making this kind of cinematic, because he had so many different types of themes and different content for the record. But like, who knows, Mute One maybe is very versatile and has these like crazy boom bap or crazy trap beats that he does, and like, who knows, man, like you just don't know with these producers, right? So I'd really look forward to seeing what else he does. But you never like, and that's the thing, and that's one of the reasons why I really like One MC One Producer albums, because you get records like this, man. It keeps you intrigued through the whole thing. You're just like, damn, dude, this is really cool. I like, I like producer records where they work with like 1,000 different MCs on there too, but those are just individual songs, right? I mean, you're not going to get a lot of crazy themes and like, type of things like that on those records, but there's still a place for them. This is a hip hop album. It's a real album, and just don't get a lot of these, man. I'm just so glad it wasn't 29 minutes. I would have been so pissed.
Yeah, man, the only knock I have on this really is like we mentioned, there's a couple tracks that the mixing isn't that great on. Yeah. But other than that, man, it's a great album.
It really is a good album, man. Yeah.
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 So what would you go with 3 tracks on this?
My top 3 tracks I have is Bloodsuckers, Paragon, and Mutiny. I do have an honorable mention with Paradox of Value, which, I feel like it's an intro track, but I think it's like, again, where both these albums have very similar intro tracks that set up the damn album so fucking perfect. And they're very much like that. My intro to let you know, I'm just kind of putting in that same thing. It's where it's kicking some rhymes, and they're all very similar. Like, they don't fuck around with it, man. Yeah. And it sets it up so perfect. But I think Paradox of Value is just, it's an absolutely amazing setter. It just sets the stage, man. It's perfect, man. It's great stuff.
Yeah, it actually was one of my top 3, Paradox of Value. And other than that, I went with Vespuccio Norte and Black Stars. Bloodsuckers would definitely be an honorable mention for me there.
I knew you were going to have Black Stars on there, man. That was one of the tracks I knew that you were going to have on there. Yeah.
It was the first track that I first listened to this in the car, and that's the first track. I was like, God damn, this is a dope beat. So, yeah.
Right.
I had to throw that on there. Yep.
Yeah, it was honestly, man, the first time I listened to this album, I actually didn't really care for the song too much, because I was so into so it's the 6th song on the album. Yeah. And at that point I was like, I kind of understood what he was doing with this record. And I'm like, okay, so we got Paradox of Value, which, we talked about what it's about, bloodsuckers, the system, blah, blah, blah. And then you got Stones, which he's talking about drug addiction and drugs. Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit. And then he lost me with Vespuccio Norte. I was like, I have no fucking idea what the hell's talking on that track. And then Smile was, again, it was like an ironic song. And then you get to Black, and I was like, okay, so he's coming out of here. It doesn't really fit the whole mold and stuff. But when you listen to the record a couple times, it fits in great. It really does, actually, because you kind of need a track like that in the record. And then he just goes right back to it, and every song is just very... it's just got different content, man. It's got a different theme to every track, and you can tell this guy like sits around and writes and writes and writes and rewrites and writes, and like, it's just, there's so much masterful craftsmanship in the lyrics in this record, that it just, I want the booklet. I want the physical copy with the booklet so I can follow along with the lyrics, because this, like, I swear you could listen to this album 30 times and not catch anything everything he's saying
easily. Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. Did you, you might have read the same interview I did, but he did talk about, he was asked about the album title, Acres of Diamonds, and he explained where it came from. Do you remember the story?
Yeah, it was, there's a book by the same title, I believe he mentioned, and,
which was based off a real story about a guy that's, heard about this place, that had, riches and stuff like that. He went there, and he like didn't come back, and I guess his property got sold off, and the new people, they moved in, and they went digging in the property, and they found a bunch of riches. So he actually left his riches.
He went in search of the riches, but they were actually right in his backyard.
Right. So again, it's just ironic that would happen to you. Like, you make this point of doing something, and then you're sitting on something fat like Ant Banks. It's like,
yeah. What? And I think that's like how he relates it to where he knows he's sitting on this great value with the skill he has.
Right.
And he's not going to go somewhere else to try to get a quick, easy fix to this, right? It's he's going to do the work to get where he needs to go.
Yeah, it's very, very metaphorical, man. It really is. I mean, like I said, like, if you read the title, Ill Conscious of Mute One, Acres of Diamonds, and then you press play and you hear Paradox of Value, you've already heard a masterful start to the record. It just, it's such a fucking... It's so cinematic. It's like a novelization of reality, and it's so incredibly done. And you couldn't ask for better beats for this type of content, right? It makes a lot of sense to what it is, you know? And again, I couldn't stress enough, this is such a mood album.
Yeah, definitely. That's, you know, this caters to a certain type of listener, right? It's not like you have to sit down and listen to it. You have to pay attention to it. You have to give it time. You have to give it several listens to take it all in.
Right.
So, you know, I'm personally like, I like to listen to a lot of music at night. Like, I'll just put headphones on, nothing else, just listen to the music. Like, I'm a big fan of Kyle. Like, his last album was my favorite album last year.
Yeah.
Because I literally listened to that album every night for months. Like, just at night, super late, put the headphones on. That's what I feel like this type of album deserves as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I listened to this one a bunch of times in my headphones. I do the same thing, man. I put my headphones on every night, and I honestly have been falling asleep with headphones. Like, my wife is like, you're like a little kid. You know, I have to fall asleep. She fucking hates it.
I try not to fall asleep with them now because they end up hurting my ears. Like, I'll wake up, my ears are all jacked up from the headphones. But,
right.
But I did that so many times when I was a kid, though, man. It's funny.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I totally hear that. But it's just, I come so accustomed, because, like, if I have music playing really low in the room, I find myself trying to listen and I can't fall asleep. But if I have the headphones on, I don't have to listen. I can just hear it. It's like I'm hearing that shit, and I'm out, man. Like, I'll put on a record, and like by the track 3, I'm snoring. It's ridiculous, man. So
I've like throughout my life, I can listen to music like super loud and just go to sleep, no problem.
Me too.
I remember when I had roommates, they're like, "How the hell do you go to sleep listening to that, man?" I'll just have music cranking. Just go to sleep.
Same way. I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
So, what would you rate an album like this?
I went with an 8 on this one.
Yeah, I am pretty much in the same boat with you, with an 8 out of 10 on this one too.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think it's really good. I don't think there's really a lot of misses. There's tracks I like a lot more than others on here.
Yeah.
You know, like I like the content of I'm Good and stuff like that. It's not really one of my. It wouldn't be like a go-to song for myself. And then followed by Golden Child too. It's kind of another one that I'm not really. I feel like those
Golden
are places.
Golden Child is the only track I you know, because he does the verse for like 2 minutes, and then the rest of it is just the singing, and I wasn't into that at all. But
no,
I mean, it's not a bad track. I like this verse and everything. It's just, you know.
Yeah, he
just wasn't for me.
He says one really cool thing in the track though. He says he mentions something about like New World Order over that Natural Selection, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, he just got really cool shit like that, and I'm like, yeah, you know, you're just kind of feeling this. But actually, we didn't really talk about Bolivian Cocaine. Did you like the dude from Dirt Platoon, his verse?
Man, when that song came on, I was like, is this a different album all of a sudden? Because he just came in ripping, right? And his voice is like super bombastic. It's like, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, man, this is out of nowhere. But yeah, I didn't mind the track. I
think how it goes. I think how he's part of it. Like, I like Dirt Platoon. I'm a fan of the group, but I mean, to be honest, the verse was like it was so aggressive when it comes on, because, like, you know, it's track 9 on the record. We've been listening to this pretty laid back stuff, and all of a sudden it's just like, holy shit, like, it sounds like Busta Rhymes is screaming at you or something like that. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt as well. I was like, man, is this the same album? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird one, but I think that Mute One, I think possibly had worked with Dirt Platoon before, and I think that's how he linked up with this and stuff. I think I read a little bit of blip. I think there's a connection there. That's why he's on this record. So
that makes sense. Yeah,
I mean, that usually is how hip hop works. It's usually who you know, and, you know, things like that, all the connections and shit like that. So but yeah, good, really, really good album. Definitely one of the more solid albums I've listened to from the year. You know, honestly, man, I mean, it's still very early. We're not even 3 full months into the year. But is there any other albums this year that you've been listening to or feeling or anything?
Yeah, I mean, this probably is at the top. I listened to the new Benny the Butcher. That's really good. But I thought Tana Talk 3 was better than the new one. The new Cypress Hill with Black Milk, that was interesting.
Okay, so I listened to it the other night. I was having some scotches, and I was like, okay, I'm
breaking out the scotch for some Cypress Hill?
Yeah, well, I was drinking, and I was listening to tunes. I was actually home by myself all weekend, so I was just kind of listening to tunes, and I was going through HHB, and I was like, oh yeah, the new Cypress. I'm like, oh shit, it's on there, so I'll give this a listen. And I was like, fully produced by Black Milk. I'm like, how the fuck did I miss this? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, it just came out, but I didn't know about it. But apparently they've been working on it for a couple years. It was a bunch of songs and stuff, and So I really was excited because I'm a big Black Milk fan, and I was like, this is crazy. But the thing I noticed about the album right away is how much Sen Dog raps on the album.
Oh yeah, man, he's like all over the place.
Dude, he like starts off most of the songs. It felt like a Sen Dog album featuring Be Real.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the first, because this has never happened before. And I was like, this is, and I'm wondering if it had anything to do with Be Real being so busy and they were wanting to work with Black Milk, but Sen Dog wasn't as busy and he was just laying some shit down.
That's what I was thinking, man. He was probably like writing rhymes constantly, and it's like Be Real's busy doing shit, so he just came in. It's like, all right, you take this over, man.
Right. It totally fit. Like, remember when we talked about the Droog and God Fahim record, where the first Wolf on Wall Street record, where it felt like a God Fahim record featuring Droog, because he did all the beats and he started off every song, and then Droog kind of finished off every one, but it really did feel like a God Fahim record.
Yeah.
I'm listening to this going, this feels like a Sen Dog record that he did with Black Milk, and Be Real is like, well, you know, I'm out of the smoke box right now, so I'll do a verse. And I'm like, it was crazy, man. So I thought that was really kind of an interesting project. I listened to it a couple times. I'll give it a couple more spins, but I really did dig the fucking Elzai and Georgia Ann Muldrow record. That was some fucking really good, like, that's how you do like a softer kind of like hip-hop R&B record. It really worked, man.
Yeah, I'm usually not down for a lot of that type of stuff, but it's definitely cool album. Elzai kills it.
Oh, man. Dude, he's so good, man. Like, oh my god. Okay, man, I gotta ask you, did you listen to the Onyx 1993 album?
I didn't, but somebody said the other day it's like super dope album. I can't remember who I saw. It was on Twitter or something.
Dude, so okay,
I think it might have been Ari the Rugged Man, actually. I'm not positive, but somebody was saying this album's crazy.
It is crazy, dude. So I'm like thinking the album's called 1993. I'm like, okay, they must be doing a throwback to the year 1993. And I'm like, wonder who they got to produce, and it was like a European producer. And so they wanted to recreate a sound from 1993 and just kind of like not redo Back the Fuck Up, but just make something that was kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
Well, holy fuck. It sounds like, if you didn't know, it could have been from 1993, and it's like that aggressive Onyx, and it's like, it's pretty fucking dope, dude. I was like, holy shit, because they've made some pretty hit and miss shit over the last few years, even though Onyx's last album.
That last album was pretty damn good.
Dude, so I'd give this a shot, man. I was like, if you like Back the Fuck Up, you'll probably really dig this record, because it's very much in the same realm, and I was like, damn, this is really cool, man. It's really cool.
I just didn't get around to checking it out yet, but I will for sure.
Yeah, I haven't really listened to a whole lot other records. I noticed that Chill Rob G put out a new album, and I was like, I actually burst out laughing. I was like, that is the funniest shit. He hasn't put out an album in like 30 years. I'm like,
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. But yeah, not a whole lot, man, to be honest. But I listened to Truth album, The Beat Miners. It's really good.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Did you check out the Benny album?
I have not listened to it yet.
Okay. What about the Conway? Did you check that out?
Nope. Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, I like the Benny album more, but Conway's definitely a good album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple on deck here. I got to check out the Pete Flux and Parental record. I want to give a shot. Oh, I was going to ask you, did you listen to the RZA and DJ Scratch album?
No.
So I gave it one spin. I got to give it another spin. I didn't really remember. It's short. It's like 26 minutes. So
okay.
I think it's co-produced, or maybe DJ Scratch did most of the beats and the RZA's kind of rhyming on it and stuff, and it's definitely interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a try.
Yeah.
What about the Currency and Alchemist? Did you listen to that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I don't mind Currency when he's with Alchemist. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I actually like Currency from back in the day. I like Pilot Talk 1 and 2 records, and then he kind of fell off a little bit for myself. But I do like Currency as an MC. I've always kind of dug him. You know, some of his projects were better than others. But yeah, you know, the thing is, you do an album with The Alchemist, man, it's just going to be good sounding. Like, the guy's an amazingly, like,
Alchemist is
versatile producer.
Like, Alchemist is insane. Like, the amount of stuff he's putting out is just insane.
I don't know where the hell these guys find this much time to do all these projects, man. It's crazy. Even though they're not the longest projects, you're still doing a lot of different ones. It's crazy, man. It's crazy to me.
It is.
So I did listen to the Phife Dawg album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't hear that.
See, the thing about the Phife Dawg album that's pretty cool, because he had this pretty much all recorded before he died, right? So this album is like his album. It's not even really finished with anybody else. There's a couple parts, but for the most part, this is like 100% like what he had recorded.
Yeah.
So it feels like a legit album. It's actually pretty good. It's a lot better than I was anticipating it to be, because I wasn't really too sure on how the sound was going to be and stuff, but you know, the features are good and the beats are pretty decent for what they are and stuff. But Yeah, it's just listening to it is so damn bittersweet because, you know, Tribe being my favorite group and stuff, and like Fife sounds good on it, you know, and then it's like, oh, man, dude, really?
Yeah, it's really sad, man.
It is fucking so sad, dude, and like, it's terrible. It's terrible, but...
Yeah. Another one I listened to the other night was the new RJ Payne. It's If Cocaine Could Talk 7 with Ice-T, like, does the narration. Did you hear that?
No, but I want to if Ice-T does.
Yeah, I'm not even going to say anything more about it. Just check it out, man. It's freaking funny.
Okay, I can definitely have to give that one a shot. That's pretty cool.
I love RJ Payne, by the way. He's definitely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if Ice-T's... Oh, man, dude. I wish Ice-T would just do something again. I mean, I've dug the last couple Body Count albums a lot. And but... Yeah, man, he still does it, man. He still does it. That's awesome. That's cool.
Love Ice-T. Love Ice-T, man. He's... I actually have an autographed picture of Ice-T on my wall, so yeah.
Do you? Oh, man, I've always been a huge fan, dude. Fuck. Yeah. Guy's dope, but... Yeah. But anyways, on that note, that's going to conclude. What episode is this? Bake Sale? Is this number 6? I don't even think I mentioned that stuff. I think it's. I think it's the 6th one. I think it's the 6th one. I guess I'll have to figure that out for doing an intro for this. But anyways, but yeah, man. So that's episode 6 here on the Bake Sale. KRS-One, Ill Conscious, both good albums in totally different ways. I mean, lyrically, both albums are incredible. One has way better beats than the other one, but I mean, if you're a little bit sketchy on KRS-One these days, don't be. I mean, if you're just there for some lyrics, fuck, you're not going to be disappointed, man. It's like, honestly, some of the craziest shit he's done in a while, man. He just goes off. Like, the fuck, man. Yeah. And the album's dope to me when you're bringing up PM Dawn again. That's amazing.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, man. So that is going to conclude this episode, and we'll be back with an episode hopefully sooner than later because this was fun. This was done. So
yeah, definitely a good time.
All right, man. Let's get out of here.
Boom, 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 boom. Deuces. To be up and down on that chair. This is how we work it. Grab the big Sprite and you know we jerk it right out the fridge. It's just like this with a dab dib. Yeah. I give a pound to my man with my right hand because I keep the Sprite in the left hand. Okay. And then I push the button when I don't want to hear nothing. I let it go when I want to hear something. Yeah. This is how we flow when we in the studio. Freestyle with Sprite. Yo, how the rest go? First things first, obey your thirst. Sprite, alright?